This world has become a strange hell filled with monsters invulnerable to ordinary weapons. The only hope for humanity is a select few with superpowers. The strongest among them was our MC, K. But even he is not almighty, and when he was betrayed by an organization and trapped with dozens of monsters, he died. Fortunately, he regressed back in time to before the apocalypse. He was reborn in the body of a baby, retaining his knowledge of monsters and his main power, which allows him to absorb the powers and abilities of the monsters he kills. After looking around more carefully, he realizes that he has somehow become a baby. As he's trying to figure out what in the world is going on, a slippered foot walks into his room. K immediately goes on alert, backing into the corner of his crib as the strange person looms over him. His mind swims with different thoughts as he tries to figure out who this person is and if they are from the organization. But then the woman leans down with a loving look on her face and greets him as A-chan. It looks like this strange woman is his mother, and she came to check on him once she realized that he was awake. The woman goes back to cooking once she realizes that he's alright, and Kei, who's now A-chan, takes a moment to look around. Everything looks peaceful and clean, unlike the world that he's used to. The TV is on and he can hear people moving around outside the house. It also doesn't look like there are any monsters outside. This is clearly an era of peace, and for him to suddenly find himself here as a baby, that means that he must have gotten reincarnated. He is now in another world where the catastrophe didn't happen, and more importantly, there's no organization here. That means, for the first time in a truly long time, A-chan is going to have a taste of freedom. Despite everything he has gone through in his life, the god of fate hasn't abandoned him. This day will always be remembered as the day of new beginnings. He takes a look at the nearest calendar and sees that the year is 2020, meaning that he woke up before the great catastrophe. That's not good since he can't do anything with his current baby body. He can't even stand up without holding something, and his little limbs are too small to support his body. His throat also feels strange compared to his older body, so he can't talk either. All of that is terrible news for him since time is of the essence. There's no time for him to just be a normal baby when the world is about to enter the apocalypse. A-chan looks towards his mother and wonders if she is someone he can rely on. Instead of relying on her, though, maybe he can just use her like a puppet to achieve his goals. She has to be good for something. Even if she doesn't look too reliable, she's the only adult that he can get access to. He wonders if she is at least flexible, but several boxes falling from the shelf is enough to disprove that. She isn't good with her hands either, as she piles an impossible high amount of flour into a bowl while cooking. Neither is she good at cooking, and she almost burns down the house while trying to make breakfast. It's obvious that she can't do anything, but she at least tries her best to take care of her baby, even with her hair roasted by the fire she caused earlier. It already feels like the end of the world, and the future of his new life looks rough. The doorbell rings, and his mother goes to answer the door and receive a package that just recently came in. Before she opens the door, though, she has to find her wallet so she can pay for the delivery. As she leaves to find her wallet, A-chan tries to remember the last time he has heard that word. The last time he remembered hearing about packages was when delivery workers took packages to meet a lot of people. Those delivery workers also happened to be infected, and it ended up being a terrifying situation. As he starts to realize the situation and what that package delivery might really mean, the door slowly opens, and a ghoulish voice comes in from the other side, urging him to take the package. As the door fully opens, it's just as A-chan predicted. The person on the other side is infected, and they have turned into a delivery monster. A-chan can't be scared, and even with his baby body, he has to find something to use to defend himself. The only thing available to him is the baby bottle that his mother gave him, and a pillow as well. He grabs the pillow and throws it on the ground, when suddenly the monster launches an attack straight at his head. The powerful blast cuts through the crib, and A-chan grabs his bottle before making a quick escape out of the crib, and landing on the pillow that he threw to the ground earlier. It doesn't have to be said that if a blast like that touches him, then he's definitely dead. Luckily, he has enough experience with fighting monsters from his past life, and from that experience, he knows that there's no way he can beat his current opponent. It looks like an amplified monster, and on top of that, the tentacles on its head look even more dangerous. But another thing he knows is that strong monsters like these are terrible at making tight turns. He tosses his bottle lightly under the monsters and it trips on it while rushing towards him, flying over his head and crashing through the window. For the first time ever, A-chan is actually grateful for all the brutal battles that he went through in his past life. As he's celebrating his victory, a tail sprouts out from his back and rushes out the window after the monster. It reaches the dead body laying on the street and eats up the monster core like a living being. A-chan grabs the tail and looks at it as it munches on the monster core. He's familiar with it, since this is the ability he had in his previous life, the Tail of Toady. It's a powerful ability, but he has no idea why he still has it even after reincarnating. The Great Catastrophe is set to happen 4 years in the future, and Kei in his past life was born 3 years after that. He doesn't know what's going on, but he's incredibly lucky to get this ability out of nowhere. In his past life, he got the ability after absorbing the core of a monster that also had the coyote tail. Another fortunate thing is that the younger someone activates their power, the stronger it will turn out to be. To test it out, he turns his hand into a sharp blade and uses it to strike his crib, bending it instantly. In his past life, he awakened as an S-class when he was 7, but since he has this power as an infant, then he will become the legendary triple S rank this time. This is his ticket to riches, fame, and beautiful women. In that case, he doesn't need to stick around in this house and play the role of a clueless baby. As he crawls away to start his new life, the crib that he bent earlier starts to fall, and its aim is right on top of him. Achan tries to move out of the way, but his body gives up on him, and he's left unable to move. The metal crib eventually cracks and starts to fall to the side, and the last thing he sees as his eyes close is his mother desperately rushing to his side as the crib falls. He remembers his past life and his ruthless master that put him through many horrible trials. The man made him do disgusting things like eating dog food to survive. Things like that were to prove that he really is just the organization's dog. Achan grits his teeth, angry at the fact that he is referred to as the organization's dog. He wakes up slowly as the sun starts to shine on his face. It looks like he blacked out after defeating the monster. He slowly pushes himself up and sees his mother sitting close by and writing in a book. It looks like she managed to save him after all. But now the question is why he passed out in the first place. It looks like the power of his ability is too much for his body. He only used it for 30 seconds, and yet, it completely wore him out and left him completely defenseless. For now, he needs to get stronger if he wants to be able to handle his powers again. As he's thinking about that, he hears the sounds of his mother crying. He takes a look at the book that she's reading and it's covered sticky notes. On the page, she writes about how she almost lost her treasure. It seems like she's talking about him. There's also a nasty bruise on her back, and it's likely that she got the bruise from protecting him. His mother from his past life would have happily sold him to the organization for a quick profit, and yet this woman risked herself to protect him. He reaches one of his tiny hands to comfort her, and as soon as she feels him touching her, she reaches over and grabs him in a tight hug. It looks like this woman is different from her, and that makes him decide to stay with her for a while. Regardless, there's still not a lot of time, and the world will change in less than a week. The next monster should already be on its way, and he needs to be able to fight for more than 30 seconds if he wants to protect his new home. Outside their apartment, a window cleaner shivers in pain as blue slime seeps out of his eyes, mouth, and nose. The blue slime slips down and enters the drain pipes below him, on its way to somewhere specific. As Achan is considering his next steps, his mother brings something over to him covered in a red blanket. She removes the blanket to reveal a dog inside a cage for him. She got the dog from their neighbor so that he can have a companion. Achan remembers the dog from his past life. It was a fierce mutt, and he never thought he would see it again in this life. On top of that, the dog is way too big to be a baby's playmate. However, this might turn out to be a good thing for Achan. His mother might be a bit ditzy, but it looks like she can be useful sometimes after all. If he trains the dog right, then it can end up becoming a strong ally, and it can even grow into a means of transportation. Having a big dog might not be so bad after all. His mother smiles at the little grin on his face. It looks like she made the right decision, and it at least made him happy. She leaves the two of them to play while she goes to do some more chores around the house. Achan stares the dog down as he wonders what he's going to do with it. For now, he's going to need to feed it first. He gives the dog a sausage from the kitchen and orders it to eat. If he eats it, then Achan will become its master, and the training can begin. Despite the baby's attempt at forming a contract with the dog, it seems like it's too simple-minded to understand what they are doing. As the dog bends down to pick up the sausage, Achan stomps on his head, showing off the difference in their power dynamic. However, even though the dog doesn't understand what the baby is saying, that doesn't mean that it'll tolerate disrespect. It punches Achan with two well-placed paws to the face, sending the baby flying. Then it turns away to enjoy its sausage in peace, but the baby isn't going to take that laying down. Achan leaps up to attack the dog with a loud battle cry. He pounces on the dog, and the two of them fight it out while the mother laughs at their antics. It looks like the two of them have already become friends. As she's cooking, she realizes that she's out of flour. When she bends down to try and find it though, a blue slime monster comes up from the sink and towers over the fighting dog and baby, aiming directly for the oblivious woman who is still trying to find some new flour to use and cook. The slime monster lifts into the air and aims directly for Achan's mother. The dog springs into action and rushes to go for the monster before it can hurt her. It gets there just in time to push her into the sink cupboard before the slime can attack her. Thankfully, the mother doesn't know what's going on, while the slime and the dog fight behind her. Achan watches the whole thing happen with an unimpressed look on his face. The monster is way too weak to cause any real problems, but it'll still be troublesome to deal with. Its liquid makes slashing and stabbing attacks useless, so they have to find another way to deal with it. His mother tries to get herself out of the cupboard, but she's more concerned about the pain in her head, not even realizing the intense battle happening between the dog and the monster behind her. The slime eventually starts to envelope the dog, and begins to morph into something different. Achan is going to have to act fast before things get out of control. He remembers from his past battles that the slime monster is weak to dryness, so he has to find something to use to dry it up. He immediately notices his bottle filled with powdered milk and opens it before tossing it at the monster. The slime recoils and shrinks in size before bouncing around the room. Losing moisture thanks to the milk sent it into a panic, and it's reacting because of it. Achan takes the opportunity once it stops moving to trap it under a dustbin. It looks like things have cleared up, and both the dog and his mother peek their heads up from behind the kitchen counter. His mother then accidentally spills flour on the both of them, leaving them more disoriented than they already were. Because of the flour spill, his mother rushes off to go and wash herself off before the flour stains her outfit. Meanwhile, Achan continues to enjoy the thrill of managing to catch a monster. Slimes can be used as a natural monster repellent, which means that if he manages to spread the slime's liquid on the windows, then it can act like a deterrent from any monster attacks that may happen in the future. Suddenly, the dustbin starts to shift, and the slime leaps out from under it, taking advantage of the silence as an opportunity to escape. The dog gets in front of it before it can get too far, and Achan rushes over to try and trap it again, but it still manages to slip away, this time completely avoiding getting trapped under the dustbin. Before it leaves, it raises a middle finger at the two of them as it slips out the window. The slime came to their home on its own and caused chaos, and then had the audacity to try and leave on its own. It may be weak, but it's too cocky for both of their likings, and that makes them too angry to allow it to escape freely. Achan grabs a nearby umbrella as a weapon and climbs onto the dog as a trust steed. It's time for him to chase after the monster before it gets too far and causes even more trouble. There's no way they can let it escape so that it can cause more trouble for them or others in the future. They get to the ground floor of the building and see the slime perched on top of a building. It drips its liquid on the head of a girl passing by, and she looks up just in time to see it leaping down and trying to swallow her up. Achan and the dog rush to their rescue as the baby tries to figure out what to do. If he uses his own strength, he definitely won't be able to hold out against the slime, but if they let the monster feed on the girl freely, then the place will end up becoming a sea of blood. That kind of scene is something that Achan has seen enough of in his past life. The dog is just fast enough to reach the girl in time and leap over her, while Achan opens up the umbrella and blocks the rain of slime before it can hit the girl. The slime is not deterred and jumps off the umbrella, this time aiming to attack the dog and baby directly. Since Achan can only use his powers for a short time, he has one shot to use and end the monster in an instant. He shoots an enhanced punch with his powers, blowing through the monster immediately and destroying it. The slime explodes and rains down on the area, completely defeated, while Achan and the dog stand victorious after the short battle. Thankfully, he was in time to save the girl before she became slime food, but she also saw him use his powers, and she looks terrified. Without wasting a second, the girl takes off sprinting down the road without looking back. It's understandable that she ran away, considering the scene that she just witnessed. The more difficult thing to think about is how long it'll take him to clean up this mess. His tail comes out from his diaper and goes to absorb the slime scattered around the street. It looks like the tail has the power to absorb another monster's ability. In his past life, the only way for K to absorb a new ability is if he switches it out with the previous one. However, now, the tail is quickly eating up all the scattered slime liquid and turning the power into his own. He tests out the power by forming a slime ball in his hand, and it really does look like the two powers are coexisting. In his past life, K tried his best to make sure that he switched abilities as little as possible so he wouldn't get caught by the organization. That ended up being his downfall at the end, but that doesn't change how strange it is that the tail of Tao T somehow evolved on its own. It could most likely be because of his age. The younger the age of a person when they start developing abilities, the stronger the power of the ability, and the faster the person is able to adapt to it. K became an eligible user for abilities at the age of 10, but everyone younger than him died. Most children can't survive monster toxins, and they all ended up dying as soon as they were exposed to it. But now, K is even younger than any of the other potential candidates from his past life, meaning that his growth potential is incalculable. While he was thinking about how to do things, the dog brought him back home safely. He jumps off the back of his trusty steed and uses his new slime powers to coat the area, ensuring that no monsters will be coming to his home anymore. But just doing that alone has already drained him of all energy and left him exhausted. There's no use thinking of getting new abilities or adapting to his current one, because his stamina is just way too low for him to be able to do anything with the powers. However, he doesn't need to worry too much about the potential future, since the monsters shouldn't come and disturb them anymore thanks to his slime barrier. Achan collapses to the floor in exhaustion, and the dog comes over to him with a menacing look in his eyes. It looks like it's finally time for the dog to get revenge for that humiliation earlier. The dog leans down and picks Achan up by the scruff of his shirt, and for a moment, the baby thinks that he's about to be turned into dog food. Back in the apartment, his mother comes out of the shower, fully cleaned of the flour that poured earlier. She heads to the living room to see how her son is doing, and sees him snuggled up with the dog on the floor. It may look like they are snuggled up, but Achan is struggling fiercely against the weight of the dog on top of him. Hours pass, and the baby is able to free himself from his fluffy prison to get to work on protecting the apartment. He manages to coat the windows and vents and also the drainage pipes with the special slime. Now, even if a major disaster hits the house, they will be safe for a while. While doing all of that, he was able to figure out the current state of the Taoti tail. Apparently, it can stock up to 4 abilities at once, unlike in his past life where he had to swap out one for another. Right now, he can use both the Taoti tail and his slime powers, but only for about half a minute. In order to prepare for a major disaster, he's going to need to do other things. One of the first things any survivor desperately needs in the apocalypse is supplies. The biggest cause of death after the disaster wasn't even the monsters. It's the starvation caused by disrupted logistics, which eventually led to the desperate scramble for supplies. If someone can manage to stockpile on supplies early on and avoid the conflict altogether, that person can even create followers and have people on their side during the most dangerous parts of the disaster. Achan will need to prepare it as soon as possible, but as a baby, there's a limit to what he can do. Supermarkets are crowded, and eventually, places will be full of monsters. If even one person gets infected, the disease will spread around rapidly with no hope of slowing down. With his current body, Achan definitely won't be able to handle a large horde alone, but there also aren't many places that he can get supplies from right now. As he's thinking about any other options he might have to get supplies in the future, his mother's phone rings on the living room table. He goes to check who it is and sees messages coming in from the landlord's group chat. Luckily, her phone isn't locked, so he can easily open it up and see what's going on. The people in the group chat are discussing a weird virus that's spreading around and how people infected by the virus are becoming monsters. It's clear that they don't yet know the severity of the apocalypse that's coming, and Achan is more than happy to enlighten them a bit about it. He sneakily creates an account and hops into the room, informing people about how a great disaster is coming and they need to get their supplies before everything goes to chaos. Although he's trying to help them by giving them carefully guided instructions, it's clear that no one believes him. The fact that he doesn't even have a profile yet since he freshly created the account also doesn't help his case. There's nothing for him to do as a baby, and online forums aren't much help either. At this rate, all of them will end up dying before the organization even forms. A friend request suddenly comes in on the phone. He accepts the request out of curiosity, and the person on the other end cuts to the chase and tells him that they want to make a deal with him if he is really searching for supplies. The person's username is Hot, and it sounds familiar to the baby. That was the same name of a woman who worked for the organization that was also named Hot. His guess is spot on, and the person on the other side of the screen is indeed the Hot that he's thinking of. She relaxes against the chair in a room filled with computers and gadgets while texting him. It looks like things are about to get very interesting for her. It's clear that whoever she's talking to is a very cautious person, however. Before making any type of deal, they want to hear what her plan is. Talking to them has already become very troublesome, and they've barely spoken any words to each other. So she decides to be direct and make him a proposal in hopes of sealing their deal. She offers to give him all the supplies he wants, whether that be food, water, armor, or whatever else they may need. The only thing that she will place a price on is any information that he needs. That goes for 100 million yen. But for Hot, transportation is also a problem, so she offers to give him the information that he needs, if he gives her 20% of the supplies that he collects. Both the tone of her voice and the 100 million yen starting price sound like something more fitting for a grade schooler. Looking at it logically, there's no way that this person he's talking to isn't the Hot he remembers from the organization. He continues relating with her, asking her directly why he should trust anything she says. On top of that, he also asks why he should even agree to the negotiations in the first place. Hot asks him if he is hoping to become an enemy instead of an ally. She would prefer that they get along instead of bickering or distrusting each other. The baby agrees and asks to know where the place to pick up the supplies is. She tells him that she put the information in a mailbox at the bottom floor of the apartment building where he lives. The organization hasn't formed yet, which means that Hot isn't an executive of it yet. And despite that, she's still a dangerous woman who uses information to toy with people for her own gain. Once she sets her eyes on her target, she will use every trick she knows to exploit the person to the fullest extent that she can. There's no way she would want to get along with someone that she just started talking to. She just wants to lure him into a trap using information as the bait. This time, however, A-chan is wise to her tricks, and he will be the one to stir things up, not her. He takes a rest first and sleeps for 2 hours. By the time he wakes up, his used-up stamina from earlier is completely recovered, and he's ready to go and get the information he needs. The elevator has security cameras, and he definitely doesn't want to reveal his identity to her so easily. So instead, he turns his attention to the stairs. As he gets there, he realizes that there is one problem with his plan. He is still a baby, and the stairs are much too difficult for him to climb with his current body. In that case, he has to rely on his fluffy companion. He turns to the dog sleeping on the couch, knowing that the pooch is his only hope of getting to that mailbox. A-chan goes to wake the dog up by grabbing the dog's tail and dragging it, but the dog is not amused. It slaps A-chan away with its tail, sending the little kid flying with a red cheek. And A-chan thought that he had managed to tame the beast, but it looks like they are still not on good terms. A-chan spots something on the kitchen counter that should be able to help his cause. It's a box of treats, and he should be able to use that to lure the dog into helping him. He pours some of the dog treats in his hands and brings it up to its nose. In a matter of seconds, the dog gets up and agrees to the deal immediately. It looks like despite its strong face, the mutt is actually rather easy to please. With his transportation secured, the next step is getting to the place where Hot dropped the information before his mother wakes up. He rides the dog through the apartment building and eventually reaches where the mailboxes are. Inside one of the mailboxes, there's a pink letter sticking out of it. That's obviously what his target should be. But there's also a camera watching the area as well. It's obvious that Hot wants to use the camera to confirm his identity. If that happens, then his information will be sold immediately and he will lose his upper hand. Hot doesn't mess with people she doesn't know, so A-chan has to keep his anonymity no matter what. In that case, he just has to throw her off. The baby activates his powers, stretching slim red tendrils around the room and scanning the surroundings for anything suspicious. Besides the apartment's security camera, he manages to find 3 other hidden cameras most likely installed by her. It's obvious that she desperately wants to expose his identity. Hot laughs in her computer room, eagerly waiting to see what kind of sucker will fall for her trap this time. However, without anyone getting close to the mailbox, she receives a confirmation from the person that she's been speaking to that he has already collected the information. She desperately looks through the camera footage, but the only thing she sees on the feed is a dog idly standing beside the mailbox. Little does she know that behind the dog is the target of her annoyance, sneakily trying to read the letter without her knowing. He managed to figure out where the camera's blind spot was, and used his furry companion to hide and read the letter subtly. He grabs the flyer from the mailbox and rushes away without being seen. The flyer points him to a clearance sale deal in a supermarket within the area, and that's most likely where he needs to go. As he reads through the flyer, Hot anxiously blows up his phone, asking him to reveal who exactly he is. He taunts her back by telling her that he will reveal his identity if she gives him 100 million yen. That angers Hot even more at the fact that whoever this person is, they are clearly underestimating her, and she wants to make sure that they regret it. She activates a spider surveillance system hiding within a drain and orders it to scan the entire building. The spider-looking device is equipped with a camera, as well as being dustproof, waterproof, and resistant to temperatures, magnets, high speed, and electric shock. The spider makes its way towards A-chan and the dog, but it's immediately stomped by a pair of fluffy slippers coming down the stairs behind them. Hot cries out in pain as her $30 million robot is destroyed in a matter of seconds. The person responsible for destroying it is his own mother, and she came down to look for them after not seeing them for a while. Hot cries over the loss of her spider device, but luckily it seems like the audio function still works. She can hear a female voice on the other, and then she realizes that the call function also works, which means that they should also be able to hear her. She picks up the mic and tries to threaten whoever is on the other end, warning them that they have not won just because they managed to squash her spider. Now that she has heard their voice, she can expose all of their messages and their dark past all over the internet. She continues taunting them, but whoever is on the other end doesn't respond. Instead, they continue talking to someone else, commenting how they are wearing light clothes and they could get a cold. That's when Hot realizes that the person on the other end can't hear her, and she's been talking to herself the whole time. On top of that, after doing a bit of research, even with her vast network and connections, she can't seem to find out who the person on the other side is. Whoever they are completely hidden, and she has no idea. Meanwhile, A-chan gets a free ride back to the apartment from his mother. She scolds him for coming out on his own and tells him how dangerous it is. Meanwhile, the mechanical spider lays crushed on the floor, and it can only be used at 4% capability. Hot eventually reaches out to A-chan again and tells the baby that she will give out the information for free as well as the supplies. It looks like she has given up already, and it's almost disappointing how easily she gave up despite all the trouble she caused. When they return to the apartment, Achan is surprisingly let off the hook for running out of the apartment. His mother thinks that the dog opened the door by itself and that the baby crawled out afterwards while still half asleep. Because of that, he won't be able to use the dog for a while, and it has been tied up to avoid any further instances like these. According to Hot, a warehouse-style supermarket will open soon, which means that she is going to give them supplies from an inventory that she stole from others. For Hot to do that so willingly, she's being rather generous despite everything. If he's going to gather materials, then he needs to do it sooner rather than later. But first, he has to figure out a way to get to the supermarket in the first place. He left a flyer out on the table for his mother to see, but she hasn't even noticed it. There's no way that he can just directly tell her about the end of the world, but he's going to need to do something. As he's trying to figure out what to do, he overhears her talking about how there are only 5 days worth of milk left. That's a perfect opportunity, and he can use that to his advantage. He pushes over the cup of milk on the table, and then pretends to still be asleep when she comes over to check the noise. When she goes to clean up the milk, she finally notices the flyer on the table for the supermarket. She picks it up and starts to consider checking it out, and everything goes all according to Achan's plan. The day finally comes for the trip to the warehouse, and she dresses up the baby in pink clothes, much to his disappointment. While they are both out, the dog has been left at home with plenty of food to eat. They reach the supermarket, but before she can enter, a security guard rushes over to ask her what she's doing in the area. He tells her that there is an infectious disease going around and people are supposed to refrain from going around. The mother tries to tell him that she just wants to buy powdered milk for her baby, but the guard is having none of her excuses. He's a government worker, and Achan knows that the government will soon disappear, so they don't have to worry about things like these for long. The guard is only doing this because he has been ordered to, and he tells her that she should go home. As he's talking to her, he doesn't notice the monster stalking up behind him until it puts its hand on the man's head. In an instant, the monster squeezes its hand and the man's head pops like a bloody balloon. Then it sets its sights on the defenseless mother and child. This monster is a lot larger than anything Achan has faced so far, and it's a strong proliferative type, so it doesn't have any particular weak points either. He doesn't want to reveal his strength, but if he doesn't use his power, then both he and his mother will die here. There's no time to waste, and he's about to spring into action, but his mother plucks him out of the stroller and tries to make a run for it. Achan knows that running away is useless since this thing is a whole different species. It's way faster than a human, and his mother has no hope of escaping on foot. As the monster gets closer to them, Achan notices a case of fire extinguishers on the wall, and then he uses his powers to break the case. It explodes and covers the entire area in gas. The sudden cloud is enough for Achan to squeeze out of his mother's arms and attack the monster, sending it flying away and crashing into a wall. He has about 30 seconds, and until the dust settles to take care of this monster. In that 30 seconds, he is going to need to settle the fight with this monster before his mother notices what's going on. His mother has passed out because of the sudden attack from the monster, so he has to make sure to take care of everything before she wakes up. Luckily for him, she's unconscious from the earlier impact, but there's no time. The proliferative type has its core in its head. If he can manage to strike its head, then it will definitely die in one hit. However, the monster is still unharmed even after the strike he gave it earlier. Achan has to make sure to finish off the beast in one blow before it can get back up and hurt him or his mother. There's no shortcuts he can use like all the other times. This time he's going to have to fight it head-on with his own strength. Thankfully, he can at least stand this time and doesn't have to crawl around. The monster takes the initiative and jumps towards the child, but Achan is able to dodge out of the way before it can take him down. He then uses his ability to slice up the monster with thin strands of his toady ability. He didn't manage to take out the monster, but he at least managed to make it bleed after that heavy attack. Things don't look so good right now, but Achan is sure that the one who is going to win is him. He rushes off to attack the monster again, this time sure that he can at least hold his own against it. Thanks to his small body, he is able to easily dodge most of its attacks, and uses the string from his toady ability to swing around its body and wrap around it. Then once he lands, he pulls the string, once again cutting through it instantly. It seems like he has the upper hand, but he still needs to strike the monster in the head to defeat it. Luckily for him, with a body as large as that, it makes it difficult to aim for a fast-moving baby. It also can't use its full strength because of how fast it's forced to move. For the monster, it would be the same as trying to chase a mouse. Eventually, Achan is about to outrun and outsmart the monster perfectly, wearing it down severely until it can barely move. This is all thanks to the experience he has built from battles in his old life, up till now. Thanks to the consistent attacks from the baby, the monster's power has been greatly reduced, and one more hit should be enough to take it down. He can't get too smug though, and although the monster has been severely weakened by the constant attacks, it uses all of its strength to grab one of the spikes from its back and chuck it at the baby with incredible strength. Achan is fast enough to dodge the attack, but it still manages to cut deeply into his forehead. He hops away, putting significant distance between him and the monster before it can launch another one of those attacks. If it continues to attack like that, then the baby has no chance of getting closer to finish it off. For now, he has to try and think up another strategy like a surprise attack, or he has to find a way to divert its attention. There's no time left either, and he will soon feel the after effects of using the full strength of his powers. For now, he might have to run and take his mother away before she gets hurt. As he's still trying to figure out what to do, he notices his mother helplessly looking around back at the ground floor. It looks like his time ran out faster than he anticipated, and now she has woken up and she's desperately looking for him. As she searches around for him, she comes face to face with the monster and stares up at it in shock. Instead of running, though, she reaches into her pocket to get something, and Achan desperately yells for her to run away because she definitely won't be able to take on the monster by herself. But as the protagonist's mother, she definitely has some tricks of her own. From her pocket, she pulls out a stun gun and shoots it at the monster, zapping it with intense electricity and causing it to freeze up. It may be unorthodox, but this is exactly the diversion that the baby was looking for. Achan leaps off the building towards the streets below, right as the monster recovers and swipes at his mother, sending her flying backwards. As she falls to the floor, conveniently looking away from the monster, Achan comes descending from the skies with a massive attack, intent on taking out the trash once and for all. The monster looks up just in time to see a baby with a massive buildup of energy on its leg coming down at it at high speed. The attack connects right on the monster's head, breaking it apart immediately and killing it instantly. His mother is still on the floor, unconscious as the baby walks up to her to check on her condition. As much as he's not too fond of her yet, it would have been way more dangerous for him if she wasn't there trying to protect him. Not only did she come to try and save him despite the danger, she also risked her life to save him. There's still a lot of training she has to go through before she can be useful to him, but it seems like he can at least trust her. As he thinks that to himself, the after effects of his power come crashing in, and he collapses beside her, losing his consciousness as well. When he wakes up again much later, he has a bandage on his head, and a strange, red-eyed man is fixing up a new diaper for him. Achan doesn't recognize the stranger, and his immediate form of self-defense is to pee on the man to try and scare him away. His mother quickly rushes to apologize, hoping that the strange man doesn't get offended. He wipes the pee off his face, accepting the fact that he most likely just scared the kid, and that's why it happened. He then asks her if she's getting along with the dog, and it looks like his mother is familiar with the man. The man is most likely the former owner of the dog, and he thanks her for taking care of the mutt. Achan is more concerned about the fact that his mother definitely saw the monster that attacked them earlier, but she's acting as if nothing has happened. Then he notices that his hair is wet. That probably means that she was crying in secret again while he was asleep. The man tells her that they are heading out to stock up on supplies and invites her to come alone with them. That catches Achan's attention, as he realizes that stocking up on supplies and buying them all out with the help of other people definitely isn't a bad decision. Before he follows along with them, though, he still has to retrieve the crystal core from the monster that he defeated. He jumps out of his stroller and hurries over to the monster's remains. Once he uses his toady tail to absorb it, he immediately gains the monster's power. This time it seems to be a hardening skill, and it has already fused to his bloodstream. It's not a bad skill, and now he can use his tail as some sort of shield. But before he crawls back to his stroller, he notices the strange man from before having a call on her phone. He's talking with someone, and they seem to be talking about the fact that he and his mother are both a burden to them. He also reveals that the reason he's bringing both of them along is because in an emergency, they can be used as decoys and at least be a little bit useful. The guy is definitely crazy, and it's clear that he has bad intentions. He tells the person on the other side of the line to take another vehicle and grab more supplies. As Achan listens in on the conversation, he accidentally bumps the truck he's hiding behind, and the man quickly turns around, ready to attack anyone that's eavesdropping on him. The man comes up to him, but he's clearly expecting to see someone threatening and instead sees a little baby, which makes him let his guard down. The man pats Achan on the head and asks him how he got all the way there. Then he gets back on the phone and tells the person on the other end that the baby heard their conversation. But he doesn't care about it since he's just a baby. On top of that, since Achan is just a baby, killing him won't be a problem. The baby bends his head anxiously after realizing that the guy is completely insane. They all pack into a car and his mother secures him into a child safety seat at the back. Then they prepare to set up, with the man and 3 other people in the car. Achan doesn't trust the crazy man to be the driver, but there's nothing he can do about it. If he could at least use his power, then he would be able to crush the crazy man in an instant and prove who is stronger. The others in the car get acquainted, and his mother tries to start a conversation by offering some snacks to the others. It's incredibly strange that these people seem so calm despite everything that's going on. Achan starts to wonder if they have even seen footage of the monsters, and why anyone would even go outside at the moment. The man starts the car and waves to the person at the compound that they are staying at as they leave. Achan realizes that their lack of awareness is probably a kind of self-defense. After all, even if people see monsters or corpses, it doesn't always mean that the world is ending. All they can do is act normal and try to hide their fear. As they continue to drive through the town, Miss Ling brings out a box of sandwiches to share with everyone in the car. The people in the car are all residents from the apartment building that Achan and his mother are staying at. There's his mother Ling Yingyu, a resident of room 502. Then there's Den Ku, a resident of room 103. And finally there's Ryu Kaisen, a resident of room 104. His mother continues to offer snacks to the others in the car as they drive to the supermarket. Ryu Kaisen asks his mother how she's managing to raise a child on her own, despite how tough it is. After all, she's young and beautiful, and it doesn't seem like she's working either. It's also dangerous to go outside with a child. His mother originally considered leaving him at home, but she has noticed that whenever Achan is left alone, he starts to act crazy. She had to bring him with her after giving it a lot of thought. Achan subconsciously tries to tell his mother to stop talking as she sighs while thinking of all the chaos that has happened because of her child over the past few days. One of the men at the front is Chin Minoru of room 504. The driver comments that Ling is useful in a fight, especially since she managed to take down a large monster with her taser gun. They also brought the dog as well in the truck that's following them, so they have some extra attack power if anything were to happen. Achan's mother doesn't remember what happened, and she doesn't realize that it's her child who did all the work. As they continue to drive through the town, the driver realizes that something is wrong. There should be more monsters around, but the place is surprisingly empty. Suddenly, he notices someone running on the road, clearly looking for help. As she's running through the road, looking for somewhere to hide, the wall of a nearby building bursts open and a hand reaches out for her. Then she is suddenly overrun by several monsters all at once. The driver tells them to hold on tight as he tries to maneuver the car to avoid a collision with the monsters and the girl. The car and the truck both drift to avoid the small crowd of monsters, and they manage to move by safely. The dog barks loudly in the back seat as the monsters crowd over the girl and pull her to the ground. She cries for help as the monsters pile on top of her and attack her. Today has been really hectic from the moment Achan and his mother left their house. They are surrounded by monsters, and Achan takes a moment to analyze the situation they are in. The bug-headed monsters surrounding the car all have sting marks on their necks. The handler of all the monsters must be some type of cyborg. The parasite handlers are parasitic-type monsters, and they have the ability to turn humans into cyborgs. Their power isn't much individually, but in large numbers, it's a different story. And as long as the handle runs around, the cyborg monsters will just keep multiplying. The best thing they can do is find a way to escape immediately. The rest of the bug monsters that aren't piling on the poor girl from earlier start coming towards the car to attack those inside. They are way too close for the driver's liking, and in a matter of seconds, one of the monsters manages to break through the windshield. Achan looks around and knows that it's definitely possible for them all to survive this situation, but he needs to drive them off quickly before they become overwhelmingly large. Unfortunately, though, he can only use his powers for 30 seconds, and if he wastes all of it here, then it's all over. He looks around the car and wonders if any of the passengers is able to fight. Ryu desperately looks out of the car at the girl who's getting beaten and devoured by the monsters. She cries for the other in the car to stop wasting time and save her. That immediately pisses off Achan as he realizes that she's going to be a burden to them going forward. Instead of trying to figure out a way to help everyone, she's crying for everyone to save her. They might as well leave her because it's not like she's useful in a fight. Chin Minoru tells them that they shouldn't go and save the girl. She already has the same wound as all the other monsters on her neck, meaning that she's most likely already a lost cause. Chin Minoru clearly has sharp eyes, but he's probably too old to be of any use in a battle. But he might at least be strong enough to carry supplies. The driver asks if they should charge into the mess, but if they are going to charge in, then they should deal with the monsters first before they all get wiped out. Achan doesn't like that idea because it seems like he's trying to get them all killed. They can't rely on the guy when it really counts. The person driving the truck behind them is most likely the same. Den Ku picks up a hard object from somewhere in the car and announces that he will go and help any way he can. He looks like a wimp, but he might also be the kind of character that surprisingly goes berserk out of nowhere. He's trying to say that he's not scared, but it's clear that he's not reliable at all. It looks like there really isn't anyone in the car that can take down the monsters surrounding them. His mother reaches into her bag to get the gun that she was using earlier. Once Den hears that she is going outside with her gun, he decides that he doesn't need to go anymore. As they are all talking, a sharp object suddenly stabs into the car, going straight through Den's chest. Then he suddenly tosses out of the car like a rag doll. Then sharp claws dig into the side of the car, and a different insect monster peacocks its terrifying head into the car and immediately stabs a claw into Ryu, killing her immediately. It looks like this is the main body of all the cyborgs. It must have been hiding somewhere, waiting for the right time to pounce. Since there's no one in the car that's reliable, it looks like the baby is going to have to step up and deal with this situation. Before he can get up though, a sharp stinger heads straight towards his mother. He's not fast enough to stop it before it gets close to her, but instead of the stinger stabbing her, it unexpectedly stabs the car cushion instead. They look to the front of the car to see Shin Minoru unexpectedly holding the monster back. Shin Minoru realizes that this person must be the boss of all the monsters. The monster turns around and tries to stab him in the face, but he grabs the stinger and breaks it instead. It's clear that this man is something else entirely since he managed to take down the boss of all the monsters with his bare hands. The monster screams as he stabs its own stinger into its neck. Then, as the monster's screams eventually fade, it dies off, and Shin Minoru drops its dead body off, making it fall down to the street floor. As he wipes the blood off his face, he complains about how old he is becoming. Meanwhile, Achan looks on in adoration as he realizes that the old man is a total powerhouse. But then he realizes that the fight isn't over yet. The monster on the ground has a second phase, and they can't let their guard down yet. Achan doesn't know who this old man is, but just aiming for the heart isn't enough to kill the monster. Just as he expected, the monster starts to rise up again, and it's clear that it's about to attack again. He doesn't have a voice to talk, so he only has one way to warn the old man before things get bad. He cries out as loud as he can, causing the old man to look behind him and narrowly dodge a sneak attack from the insect monster. The old man has seen this before when he was still in the Special Combat Division. He immediately realizes that the monster won't die by stabbing its heart. That explains why the man seems to be so strong. He worked in the Special Combat Division, and that's why he has training to deal with monsters like these. The man jumps out of the car to attack the monster and bring it down. It looks like it won't die easily from simple methods, so Shin Minoru decides that this time, he will use all his energy to crush the monster once and for all. He grabs the monster by its head and slams his knee into its face, causing the skull to crack immediately. Just from the little fighting that he's doing, it's obvious that he has refined battle knowledge, and for him to make the decision to go for the head came very quickly. He should have realized sooner that the old man was from the military, and that he has special skills beyond the others in the car. In his past life, when he was the organization's dog, even though the military was already wiped out by the time he started going on, he heard rumors that after the government collapsed, the military became the largest force resisting the monsters. They were the enemies of the organization back then, but among them, there was the Special Combat Division which worked at the core unit. It seems that they underwent a special training, and they were a thorn in the side of the organization. Thanks to the man's efforts, they can finally go to the supermarket and get the supplies they need. His mother initially suggests that they head home too, but Shin Minoru immediately shuts the idea down and tells her that if they go home, something else might happen, so they need to keep moving forward. It looks like they finally have a reliable person on their team, but now Achan has to figure out how to get this guy on their side. Maybe he can send out a fake military command, or he can blackmail Hot to make her send some insider info, or he can just cling to the man and force him to protect them. Just the thought of using the man for his own personal gain makes the baby grin evilly. As he's thinking of what to do, the man pats him on the head. Then he tells Miss Lin to stay close to him with Achan so he can protect them a little. She immediately agrees and promises to not be a burden to him and to follow him diligently. He tells her not to expect too much from him, and he just wants to help them. She thanks the man for his help earlier in taking down that boss monster, but he tells her not to mention it. After all, if Achan hadn't cried earlier, then he would have definitely died from the monster's attack. Then he tells the little baby that the more foolish someone is, the more they desire profit. That almost sounds like he could read the child's mind and know the selfish thoughts that he had earlier. Achan crosses his arms and decides to peacefully accept the help from the man. But he knows that Shin Minoru's personality will end up being his downfall. They finally reach the supermarket that they have been aiming for since the beginning, but the gate is closed. It looks like it's their day off. The ad said that the supermarket would be open, but the place is clearly closed for business. Achan knows that Hot is a master hacker and she probably shut the supermarket remotely. Suddenly the door opens up and the driver explains to them that he had a friend remotely open the door from somewhere else. As he says that, he smiles and flashes his phone, reminding them that they should remember to thank his friend later. That makes Achan suspicious, and he sneakily pulls his mother's phone out of her bag to check it. He opens the messages and sees that Hot sent him a message recently informing him that she saw their car on the security camera and opened the gate for them. That confirms that the driver definitely knows Hot. That makes things a lot more complicated for him, because Hot and the driver are both very suspicious people to him. They eventually enter the supermarket, and Achan is just tired now that they have finally reached their destination. The supermarket is huge and there are a lot of supplies in the warehouse. There are also no cameras in the area, so it looks like the baby doesn't have to worry about being spotted when using his powers. Then he notices that the old man brought a weapon rack with him. That's to be expected of a former Special Combat Division soldier, but now that they are in the supermarket, the man that's been guiding them this entire time has suddenly disappeared. There also doesn't seem to be any staff in the supermarket, so there's no way for them to buy or check out. As they are trying to figure out what they are supposed to do in the warehouse, they hear clapping coming from elsewhere in the building. They look forward and see the man from earlier smiling cheekily and tapping the boxes around him. Then he declares that everything in the store has already been purchased by his organization. The moment Kay dreads the most has finally come true. The person standing in front of him is none other than a member of the organization. Even Kay's dog doesn't like him as it starts barking furiously. The driver finally shows his true colors, confessing that he's only used all of them to gain access to the supermarket. Now that he's done with them, it's time to dispose of them like worthless trash. During his boastful monologue, Kay immediately spots a tattoo on the man's arm, which is a clear sign that he truly belongs to the organization. With darkness in his eyes, the man declares that the supermarket now belongs to the East Lotus Society, his voice filled with menace. His threat is especially aimed at the old military man. As he pulls a weapon from his pocket, he warns them not to move. The name of the society instantly catches Kay's attention. He realizes that this branch of the organization is anything but ordinary. They are a group of forerunners responsible for enforcing the hunting project. This group has already been spreading their crimes even before the calamity begins. That must be their reason for gathering supplies because they sense the coming disaster. Now Kay understands why he had a bad feeling about this man, something he sensed from his smug tone. But whoever this person is, Baby Kay is ready to take him down. Meanwhile, Lin and the old man quickly grasp the gravity of the situation and notice the lackeys surrounding them. But the old man is prepared as he immediately scoops up a shovel and hurls it at the generator. It strikes with force, embedding into the machinery that could burst at any moment, and the sound of a potential explosion starts echoing through the area. The driver, however, remains standing calmly, something the old man doesn't miss. In the next moment, the man smirks and pulls out a remote to control the cart. The old man realizes the situation is slipping out of his control. He leaps to tackle the driver, but at the last second, he's thrown back by a stack of cartons. The next moment, the old man finds himself staring down the barrel of a gun. With a chuckle, the organization member remarks that he won't let a military veteran slip away so easily. He then warns him not to move. But unexpectedly, Lin steps in, gun in hand, and warns the man to back away from the old man, or she'll shoot. She demands to know his motives. The man, clearly entertained, realizes just how spectacularly clueless she is for not having grasped the situation until now. He even asks if she'd still think he's innocent after he shoots her. Lin, still living in her own cheerful bubble, offers to share the supplies like she's hosting a picnic. He actually laughs at her naivety, which is almost impressive. She's acting like she's the one calling the shots here. He then reminds her of the time he left the dog with her. Not out of kindness, of course, but because when he went to collect the money, the owner was already dead. So naturally, he figured he might as well get rid of the dog too. That's when she showed up, and he thought it'd be entertaining to see how she'd juggle a full-grown dog and a baby. Shockingly, things worked out back then. But now, with his gun ready, as he rejects the idea of sharing the supplies, there simply isn't enough to go around. The next moment, all his lackeys point their guns at them. The boss declares that weaklings like Lin should die. This moment triggers a memory in Kay, when he was under the control of the organization, left with no choice but to eat rats just to sate his hunger. Back then, he was looked down upon just like this. He snaps out of his reverie when his dog gets ready to attack the goons. Kay immediately throws the slime at the generator, which causes blackout. The next moment, darkness swallows everything, and the boss shouts for everyone to stop shooting until they can find light. At the same time, the boss raises his gun. Seizing the opportunity, Kay activates his power and is about to punch him when the old man suddenly intervenes, kicking the boss instead. Both Kay and the old man look at each other in astonishment. Kay understands that it's his bad luck to be seen by the old man, who is part of the military. Eventually, they might consider him a monster, and there's a real chance he'll be turned into a research subject because of his powers. As expected, the old man is thinking along the same lines as he is wondering whether Kay is a monster. Just as he prepares to attack, the baby Kay immediately leaps and settles on an upper rack, right in the old man's blind spot. The old man switches on his flashlight. Kay had also planned to turn on the light, but he's wary of the old man. He scoffs, realizing he has no choice now but to take the old man down first. However, his plan is interrupted by a sudden noise that alerts everyone. People look up and spot a slime that distracts the entire group. With a smug smile, Kay takes his usual seat in a trolley and prepares to enjoy the show. To his astonishment, the slime transforms into a doppelganger of the old man. It attacks him, and soon everyone finds themselves fighting against their own clones. The old man, too, braces for battle against his double, cursing under his breath at this new disaster. Lin is terrified to see her perfect clone standing right in front of her and pleads with it not to come any closer. Her voice draws the old man's attention. He glances back and sees Kay crying nearby while his clone tries to climb into the trolley. The old man assumes he must have seen this clone before. That means our little dude's plan is working perfectly as he's now shedding crocodile tears, just waiting for the old man to swoop in like a knight in shining armor. As expected, the old man immediately attacks the clone when it tries to reach Kay. However, he grows frustrated when the clone reforms itself effortlessly, thanks to its slime-like nature. Realizing brute force alone won't work, he hurls his shovel aside, deciding it's time to adopt a new strategy better suited to dealing with monsters like this. He opens his armory box and pulls out his gun. Meanwhile, Lin manages to defeat her clone using an electric gun, because electricity being a known weakness of slime creatures. Kay also defeats his clone through a relentless barrage of attacks, another known weakness. In the end, the old man destroys his clone using raw firepower. But the battle isn't over yet. Another slime clone launches itself at Lin, only for the old man to shoot it at the last moment. However, the creature is still alive, trying to refcurm, but the old man continues to fire, determined to finish it off. He may not have killed it completely, but he's definitely done some serious damage. But at the same time, the boss also gets back on his feet, ready to attack, just as the old man remains occupied, fighting off the slime. Kay curses under his breath, while frustrated by the situation. He can't use his powers openly. Doing so could expose his secret. He's taken by surprise when the boss suddenly grabs him and takes him hostage, warning Lin and the old man to drop their weapons. What the boss doesn't realize, however, is that he has just made things more convenient for our clever boy. Kay silently activates his slime power and takes control of one of the boss's lackeys. That lackey then unseals a grenade, and in the next moment, a massive explosion rocks the area. Though the boss survives the blast, he still has Kay in his grip. Kay, however, uses the chaos to his advantage as he spots a first-grade crystal core and quickly snatches it with his tail before anyone notices. The boss, badly shaken and nearly killed in the explosion, rushes into another room and slams the door shut behind him in a desperate bid to protect himself. Inside the room, several more goons are waiting. The boss declares that it's time to move and orders them to prepare the car as they're getting out of here. The goons immediately begin to comply. At that very moment, our boy notices another tattoo, this one etched into the side of the man's neck, revealing his name. Now everything becomes crystal clear to Kay. This person is none other than the true boss of the organization, Lai. He's the one who turned Kay's life into a living hell in his previous life. Back then, however, Lai always wore a mask, which is why Kay never got to see his face. Who would have thought he'd get the chance to witness it now, as a baby no less? Kay's baby glare is so intense that Lai actually feels it and even scolds him in annoyance. The next moment, a red mist begins to fill the air around them. This is called a crimson dust, which is a dangerous phenomenon in this catalyst-infested world, hazardous to any human being. Those who come into contact with it either die or mutate into monsters. That explains why, just moments later, several of Li's lackeys begin to transform into grotesque beasts and charge toward them. But Lai, in his usual cruel fashion, decides to use Kay as monster bait. Without a second thought, he tosses the baby into the room with the creatures and flees the scene, leaving him behind. Kay, as usual, understands the plan well, but he's ready to unleash his true power even with a witness present. He pulls the core from his pocket and activates it. In the next moment, he transforms into a full-grown fighter, primed for battle. The overwhelming monster charges at him, but his tentacles intercept the attack without hesitation. Now fused with the crystal core, his abilities reach a new height, so enhanced that the monsters around him barely register as physical beings anymore. Another creature attempts a laser strike from its eye. Without flinching, Kay advances straight through the beam and pierces into the creature's body. He's almost amused by how easily he can control his body. His tentacles now move with deadly grace, slicing through the monsters like vegetables on a chopping board. Meanwhile, Lai watches the scene unfold with growing horror. Confused and shaken, he fails to grasp Kay's identity, having missed the transformation from infant to warrior. One look at his pale face tells Kay everything. He knows Lai doesn't recognize him yet. That makes it all the more satisfying. Kay moves forward, his eyes dark with purpose. There's no hesitation now. The moment for revenge has finally come. Even terrified, Lai immediately prepares to defend himself. He pulls out his gun and fires at Kay. Fortunately, Kay is faster than the bullet itself. Though the body he's transformed into isn't his original, compared to his infant form, the speed and agility it offers are on another level entirely. As K closes the gap just an inch away, Lai assumes he must be a monster. But our boy doesn't give him the chance to speak. In one swift motion, he hurls Lai across the room and slams him into a corner. Now coughing up blood, Lai mumbles something about a story he once heard from someone, but now sees was true. K briefly wonders who that person could be, but he doesn't have time to dwell on it. Lai suddenly pulls out a syringe and injects himself with a strange drug. Within moments, his body begins to shift grotesquely, morphing into a monstrous form. Watching the transformation, K immediately realizes the truth that long before the Great Catalyst, the organization had already been experimenting with this drug, a formula designed to turn humans into monsters without stripping away their sanity. As the monster grows, K is visibly terrified. It lunges at him immediately, and though he barely manages to block the attack, he quickly retaliates with his tentacles. But from that single clash, he realizes his opponent is no ordinary threat. The monster continues its relentless assault, striking at him with silver tentacles, which K narrowly dodges. Just by observing its movements, K understands this creature was meant to trap him from the very start. A chill runs down his spine as he recognizes that this is the same monster that killed him in his past life. But this time, he's not the same person. He's not that helpless version of himself anymore, and he has no intention of dying to the same beast again. With renewed determination, he evades each attack with sharp focus and defiant energy. Then suddenly, a powerful explosion erupts against the monster. As the dust settles, K sees the old military man reloading his guns with bullet, which he has stolen from the East Lotus Society. The irony isn't lost on him. The old man is using the bad guy's weapons for a good cause. Meanwhile, K tries to process the sudden shift in the battle. The old man is targeting the giant eyes monster, which is apparently Lai, still disguised in his monstrous form. Watching the tides turn, K can't help but grin widely. The game is changing, and this time, it's in his favor. Lai remembers the time he joins the organization, when one of its representatives lures him in by warning about an impending catastrophe in the world. She makes it sound like joining the organization is the only way for him to survive. Then she hands him a drug as a gift for joining, while adding that it can help him uncover his true nature. At the time, as he looks at the medicine, he isn't convinced by her words. He thinks he already knows his true nature well enough. But once he takes the injection and awakens his monstrous side, he becomes convinced that she was telling the truth, because he is born into a monster that thrives on exploiting other people's weaknesses. For example, when he is just a kid, he tells a fat lady that her husband is cheating on her. When she gets angry, he adds as proof that he heard her husband calling her an ugly sleeping piggy a little while ago. The woman, who might be already insecure about her figure, immediately believes him and becomes furious with her husband. After getting hit, the husband decides to divorce her. When he leaves, she is devastated by her own perceived ugliness. And like a guardian angel, Lai lures her into his trap by promising to introduce her to people who definitely won't bully her. This is how he exploits people's hearts, by gaining their trust, then draining them later. His scamming nature has turned him into a con artist, a monster in human skin. That's why he is now born as a level 4 monster, Trickster Lai. Up until now, the monster our boy witnesses is just hallucinations. He sees the monster that killed him in his past life, and is scared to death by Lai's trickery. Meanwhile, Lai decides not to waste his energy, and waits for the right moment to strike back and win in the end. Suddenly, he is struck by a bullet and startles to see the old man ready to fight him again. He is frustrated by the old man's long life and immediately attacks him. But the old man stays hidden, launching attacks without revealing himself. Lai attacks again, but his strike is met with a series of explosions. The clash creates a large amount of smoke and dust, making it hard for him to see anything clearly. Taking advantage of the situation, K moves into his blind spot from behind. When K attacks, Lai curses loudly, furious that he has snapped out of the hallucination so quickly. K steps forward and declares that Lai is nothing more than a level 4 con man who can never be anything special. With that, he attacks Lai with his tentacles, making Lai curse those tentacles. In the next moment, Lai tries to create an illusion around K, but this time it doesn't work. He is frustrated by the failure of his skill. K remembers the time he tasted death in his past life because of the hallucination. While silently thanking Lee, he unleashes his full power. Lai is scared as K, with lightning speed, hurls himself toward him. Lai is bleeding profusely after being attacked by K. K then asks him calmly if he is done. But inside, he knows this is only the beginning. In 2 hours, another wave of crimson dust will hit. It will be nothing like what humanity has faced before. This will be a deformed tide that breaks hell open. As he prepares to finish Lai tries to stop him. K responds that he's not interested in his last words and is determined to end him. Meanwhile, the old man is also watching the scene unfold. K understands that Lai is a tough opponent who still wants to fight despite all his injuries. So, it's better to finish him off by going straight for his neck. Just as he's about to strike, he is hit by an illusion, His mother appears, pleading with him, asking if he's going to kill her too. He hesitates for a moment, and that moment costs him dearly as he is hit by a series of explosions. Taking advantage of the opening, Lee attacks again, and Kay barely manages to dodge. As Kay gets back on his feet, Lee declares that no matter what, Kay won't be able to kill him. He can now clearly read Kay's thoughts and predict his every move. Lee knows that Kay has only one attack left in him. At that, our dude considers leaving Lee to the old man. At the same time, like reading his thought, Lee dodges a bullet fired by the old man and mocks him, asking if he plans to just stand there like always. Kay curses under his breath, realizing too late that normal weapons don't work against a level 4 monster. Lee, growing overconfident, believes he can see through the old man's tactics. With a menacing laugh and a declaration that he is a divine being, Lee heads toward the place where the old man is hiding. But as soon as he reaches the spot, a grenade planted by the old man explodes the moment Lee steps in. Seeing Lee injured, Kay compliments the old man's sharp instincts. Then he wonders where the old man has gone. As if in response, the old man appears behind Lee and is about to attack, but Lee dodges at the last moment. Lee prepares to counterattack, but Kay calls out his name to distract him. The sudden interruption startles Lee. Grinning, Lee asks Kay if he wants to know about his future. While he is momentarily distracted, the old man shoots him. Suddenly, a vision penetrates Lee's mind as he sees himself dealing with weaklings, people who are beneath him. Kay is showing Lee a future where he is always the loser, always useless in the end. Kay tells him that this is his fate. Furious, Lee grabs his head and denies the claim. Another vision flashes that he's bowing before others in a pathetic stance. He refuses to accept this future. Enraged, he lashes out wildly, but in the end, ends up injuring himself. The next moment, they all stare in disbelief as Lee has cut off his own head. Watching the scene unfold, Kay grins. He has finally fooled the greatest con man of all. As Lee's head flies from his body, he once again glimpses Kay's memories. His eyes widen in fear as he sees the monster standing before him. The next moment, his severed head hits the ground, and he screams for Kay to get out of his mind. He yells at Kay, declaring that this is what the warning about the baby truly meant. The old man glances at Kay, his attention piqued. Lee continues, his voice strained that Kay is the egg of calamity, startling both Kay and the old man. Lee warns that by starting this revolution, Kay has forfeited any chance at a normal life. From now on, the organization will hunt him relentlessly. Before he can reveal more, another gunshot rings out and Lee is silenced by a bullet. Kay and the old man turn quickly toward the source. A new figure steps out from his jeep, calmly explaining that if one doesn't kill their enemy in time, they will become their own enemy. The moment Kay realizes the man is from the military, he goes on high alert. The newcomer calls the old man teacher, crediting him for the very lesson he just spoke. His name is Captain Lee On, but he is more famously known as the Snow Wolf. Before the student and teacher exchange greetings, another monster comes up behind Lee On. Without even flinching or moving, he kills the monster. Our guy, who is watching from behind the box, is astonished to see it. At that moment, the old man asks Lee On to be there on purpose because he intends to go home and look after his grandchild. While taking out his phone, Lee On pleads with his teacher to return to headquarters, as they are in a state of emergency. He then shows him a picture of his granddaughter, who is safe and sound. He reminds him that the military needs their commander. While listening to this, Kay immediately realizes that this old man is none other than the top commander of the military. Then Lee On asks the old man whether he wants to confirm his granddaughter's safety. The old man agrees to go with him. Meanwhile, Kay is scared and unsure of what to do. When he moves, it draws their attention. Before a moment passes, Lee On is already on him, gun pointed. Fortunately, Kay has already transformed into his baby form. Lee On suspiciously asks whether he is the monster he saw a little while ago. Kay, meanwhile, is scared to death, wondering if Lee On is going to shoot him. But the old man steps in, informing his student that he is the one who placed Kay there. While scooping him into his arms, he whispers to Kay to keep pretending. With that, Kay starts crying like a baby, which he literally is. Lee On comments on how well he goes with the baby. Suddenly, our boy senses a strange aura coming from Lee On, and looks at him closely. In that moment, he wonders whether he has seen him before in the organization. Later, Kay is placed in the nursery with the other babies. When the nurse places him in the crib, Lee On tells her to go back, and she complies without question. While pretending to sleep, Kay listens to all of this and wonders about the whereabouts of the old man. He also wonders about the place he's in. Suddenly, a baby starts to cry, drawing Lee On's attention. At first, he smoothly comments on the baby's energy and asks him to be quiet, but then his tone shifts as he uses his skill to make the baby fall asleep. Meanwhile, our boy is witnessing all of this, eyes wide in horror. He remembers that Lee On is quite an important figure in the organization, with the codename Tank. Not only that, He possesses a very rare and formidable ability in which he can exploit and explode the blood in anyone's body at will. He knows that Lion has used his skill on the baby, which causes oxygen deprivation, making the baby unconscious rather than fall asleep naturally. He is someone K knows he must be cautious of, especially after his earlier attempt to kill him. Now Lion is moving toward our baby. Meanwhile, K is thinking about his own abilities, which he has awakened too early, considering the organization has only just started. He wonders whether he is already one of the compatible few to awaken his powers before the end times. At that moment, Lion decides to inspect K and tells him to be quiet. K holds his breath the entire time. As soon as Lion moves away, K lets out a sigh of relief. Before leaving, Lion comments on how fun it is. As he leaves, K glances around to make sure he's really gone. Then he immediately jumps to his feet. He recalls Lai, a con artist, someone who can manipulate minds. K has abilities like God-level absorption, which create a barrier in his mind to protect his thoughts from Lai. Now, to protect himself against Lion, he tunes his blood flow, slows it down, and allows the fake blood to be automatically absorbed. After observing it, he looks around at the other kids and wonders whether they are also the Calamity Eggs. It's not like he isn't familiar with the term. He has heard it in his past life. But due to his lower status back then, he never had access to that kind of information. Still, he believes Lion must know something about it. He then analyzes the situation with the military, which was eliminated in his past life by the organization. His thoughts drift to the old man, who clearly doesn't trust Lion, since he wanted to personally check on his grandchild. He also wonders about the inspection Lion performed on him. There are too many thoughts swirling in his mind. Then he remembers his mother and his dog, but he quickly jerks those thoughts away. He's not in a situation where he can think about others. Right now, all he needs to focus on is his escape plan. He tries to open the door with his ability, but he can't use it. He remembers the crystal core he obtained earlier, which he used to fuse the ability called Dark Shadow. But during the fusion process, he can't use many of his abilities. Currently, he can only use Dark Shadow and God Barrier. The latter helps him resist mental attacks. But Dark Shadow is too powerful and risky to use in his current situation. So, he decides to wait and understand the intentions of those around him before using his powers and risking exposure. So far, pretending to be just a baby has worked well for him. Suddenly, he notices something emerging from another crib. He looks down at another baby, whose legs are turning into tree branches. So, this baby must be another compatible one like him. Then, he notices several other babies with different kinds of abilities. He remembers, in his past life, these babies were always locked away. Now he understands that they are all placed somewhere similar to where he is now. Suddenly, a tree vine scoops him up. When he tries to break free, he can't. He wonders for a moment whether he should use his abilities now or not. But his thoughts are interrupted by another boy who helps him break free. It turns out to be a little boy, who advises him to just pretend to sleep. So now he should just behave. Kay is taken aback to see that the boy is just 5 years old and has already mastered his abilities. Suddenly, he curses under his breath as he hears a sound behind him. The boy immediately escapes, disappearing from sight. Kay turns to see nurses entering the room for inspection, and he quickly pretends to be asleep on the floor. The head nurse instructs everyone to gather every baby. One of them notices him lying there and scoops him up as well. As all this unfolds, Kay wonders what's really going on here, and what they plan to do with him. After a while, the nurses place all the babies on the floor. He slightly opens his eyes and sees nothing but darkness surrounding them. A chilling thought crosses his mind that are they going to be made to fight to the death? It wouldn't be surprising, as this was a trend in the organization during his past life. He also senses the presence of someone from the organization nearby. Slowly, he begins to crawl as other babies also start getting up. When he looks up, he spots Lion on the upper floor. Before he can process anything else, he sees a monster moving toward a baby. At first, he guesses that these babies are going to be prey for the monster, as he remembers there were no babies in his past life. Then he notices that the monster is restrained by chains, but that doesn't mean they're safe now. He guesses the restraints are only temporary, and the monster is likely to be unleashed later. Everyone around him is also afraid to see it. The boy from before steps ahead, scoops the crying baby from the monster's vicinity, and places him far away. Looking around at the babies and Lion, he now concludes that they've all been gathered here to fight the monster in order to forcefully awaken their abilities. The purpose of gathering these babies here must be the organization's plan known as the Hunting Dog Plan. After Lai, the plan is entrusted to Lion. At that moment, Lion reveals he was just pretending in front of his teacher. Then, he politely asks everyone not to disappoint him and presses the button to start their test. With that, the restraints on the monster break down, and it rushes toward our boy, but he barely manages to dodge it. In the process, his ear gets injured. He looks at the monster, which might be second grade. He's confident that he can take it down, but he's not so sure about the others. He looks around at the others, who are scared to death. One of the toddlers starts to cry, drawing the monster's attention. Now it's moving toward that baby. But the girl beside the toddler gets frightened, and with that, her tree branch ability activates. Several vines wrap around the monster. Kay gives the girl a thumbs up and hopes she can hold on. At that moment, Lion also notices her ability, which is identified as a vine type. He compliments it, saying that it's a good one, especially considering it's only at the first grade level. His attention then shifts to our boy, who hasn't shown any abilities yet. Still, he's convinced Kay must be an ability user. In his mind, he believes Kay will definitely activate his powers once pushed into extreme conditions. With that, the monster breaks free from the vines and prepares to unleash its full power. Kay is startled to see the gravity of the situation unfolding before him.